Don't you think it's insane in a way to go to a foreign country and somehow send a tape to a network and say, "Listen, I'm here anyway, so I'm going to pretend to be a reporter."
It was a scheme. Basically, I worked I got a job finally. I couldn't get a job at ABC. I finally got a part-time job as a fact checker at this thing called Channel 1, which is a show seen in high schools throughout America, about half the schools in America at the time.
Right.
And
imagine you go to Yale and then you're a fact checker at
so
Channel
I did that
1.
for like 5 months.
Right.
And then I realized, okay, I came up with this idea of like, this is not working. I'm gonna go start going to wars. It's something I feel personally about. I feel depressed. I want to go these places. I want to see things. I want an interesting life.
And how did you finance this?
Well, that's the.
Modeling money.
I'm not
Modeling money.
No. Your mom wasn't going to pay for
no,
this.
my mom paid for up to college, and that was it. That was the deal. But I could live in Africa for $5 a day. I was living in Burma for nothing.
And it's weird when you decide to go to a war. It's like it's not so apparent how you walk into a war.
Yeah, it's not that hard though. I mean, and a lot of these. I mean, like in Burma, there's not a lot of reporters like at the time.
Were bullets whizzing by your head and the whole deal?
In Burma, there were mortars going off. Yeah.
When you were over at these dangerous situations in these countries, did you videotape yourself?
Yeah, I figured I have to have a reason to go. I can't just like be a war tourist. So yeah, I made a fake press pass and I borrowed a camera and I started. I snuck into Burma and hooked up some students fighting the Burmese government.
And who tapes you? Who videos?
I would shoot myself. I would tape myself.
Selfie.
I would turn the camera around. Yeah, and then sometimes, like in Somalia, because there were so many gunmen walking around, you would hire your own gunmen. And then sometimes I would say to them, like, could you put the AK down and just hold the camera so I can do a stand-up?
Do you miss the action at all?
No, I still do it all the time. I mean, I still go for CNN.
But it's not the same when you go for CNN. It's a little less.
Well, it's different now just because I'm more recognizable. So there's there's security involved.
Right.
It's and it's actually more dangerous now. It's far more dangerous than it was back then.
Wow.
I mean, but no,
And who do you send these tapes to that takes notice and starts using them?
Well, so I had this, since I had a relationship with Channel 1, I said to Channel 1, I'm quitting. I'm going to wars. And, I'll show you the videos. And if you like them, you can put them on. And it'll cost, I don't know, $1,000 per story. I just made up some figure.
Right.
And they were like, well, okay. Because I knew if I said to them, will you send me? They'll be like, no, we're not going to send you. It's dangerous. You have no experience. We're not going to do it. But I just made it impossible for them not to at least look at the tape.
So you send this to Channel 1. They start airing these things. And then who picks up on that?
Well, that's so they air the Burma stuff. And then I'm like, hoping they're like, oh, this is incredible. We're going to offer you a job. They don't. So then I say, okay, well, now I'm going to go to Africa. I'm going to go to Africa for 6 months. I guarantee you 10 stories. Here are the 10 stories. And so they made a deal with me. They're like, okay, fine, go to Africa for 6 months. There are the 10 stories. And the first one I did was in Somalia in the early days of a famine in August of '92. And it was really dramatic stuff. It was really, and it had
you there with your own camera taking pictures
right.
and doing all that
there
stuff.
There were 1,000 people dying a day in Somalia from famine. There was, fighting going on. And I was getting, and I did a really poignant story. And it had a really big impact on the Channel 1 audience. Schools started to raise money for Somalia relief.
You will step in. If you see something going on, it's not like you just kind of not associate with anybody.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the situation. But yes, like in Haiti, there was a kid after the earthquake. We were the first team on the ground. I spent a month there for CNN. There was a kid. We were in a riot, and a kid, somebody threw a cement brick onto a kid's head and it split open.
Why did they do that? They were attacking the kid?
No, they were. It was like it's a long story, but they were basically trying to disperse a crowd from.
And so one of the one of the authorities.
No,
threw
it was just some like bandit guy just took a cement block and threw it into the crowd and he cracked open this kid's head.
And what did you do?
Honestly, I started running toward it thinking I was going to take a picture because everyone ran away from this kid. And this kid had blood pouring out of his head, and his eyes were rolling back his head. And he was probably 10, 11 years old.
Oh
and I took 2 steps, and I was like, I'm not going to videotape this. This is horrible.
I need to help.
Right, so I grabbed the kid and I brought him back.
You're a hero.
No.
That's a heroic thing.
No.
I got to tell you, I'd be scared. I'd shit my pants if I was in a riot and people are starting to throw stones and crack people's heads open. I probably would run the other way, but that's the kind of man I am.
No, that's not true. You never know how you're going to react.
I know how I react. I'm pretty sure I know.
We've seen him in a crisis.
Oh, believe me, Robin has seen me where she goes, you should step in. I go, if beats don't fail me now, I'm getting out of here.